Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar on logistics and Q&A. My name is Erica Lee Garcia, and I'm presenting this information to you on behalf of the National Engineering Month Ontario Steering Committee. I want to welcome everyone who's joined me tonight. Luckily, tonight's webinar, the last time we ran it, did not run too long. I see a few people are joining us. That's wonderful. Thank you. Welcome. I've got you all muted so that we have minimal disruption, but I will take you off mute to ask questions later on. In the meantime, if you have a question, you can enter something in the chat box. Simply type it into the bottom of the screen there. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump in. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of the last couple webinars we've talked about. This is something that we're doing that's new in the 2014 campaign, and we're pretty happy with it. We hope that you are too. First of all, the last one that we held was a big, meaty webinar on the overview of the scorecard and the survey, aka measuring your event effectiveness. This is one thing that we really want to do to help really drive improving reporting and driving event improvement. So we're not just doing a quantity of events, we're doing quality of events. We're emphasizing messaging as well as some of the other logistical things. The last webinar that we did contained the scorecard, which is a tool to be filled out by you, the organizer. Just to clarify, the scorecard is replacing the post-event report, and the survey will be filled out by your event participants at the event. So you'll need the survey to give to your event participants in order to fill out the scorecard. It's one of the things that you'll need. So the scorecard is going to be emailed out to you very shortly. Most of you have hopefully already received a sample copy of the scorecard so that you can play with it. And the survey as well is available online if you go to the Engineering Outreach Resources link on the NEM website. So we're going to be emailing that to you. And just to clarify, the scorecard is available. It's something that we will require you to fill out and send to us in order to unlock the second half of funding. So I'll explain a little more about that later, but just to clarify, it's working like the post-event report did last year. There's no post-event report as such this year. We're just using the scorecard. So that's pretty much what you need to know for event messaging. An overview of the social media is that there are really two parts to what we do as National Engineering Month campaign. One piece of it is the great work that you do on the ground where you're doing bridge building or you're teaching youth or the general public about innovation or anything else that you're doing, raising their awareness of what engineering and technology do in society, do for their everyday life. We don't just want to reach the people that are in the room. We want to tell the story to a larger audience, and social media is a really user-friendly way to reach out to a larger audience. So also it's worth saying that our target audience is on social media. Those are where the youth and the tech-savvy young adults are hanging out. I guess if I had to sum up everything we said in the social media webinar, I would say be social, and hence the name. You want to think of it like a cocktail party where you're exchanging information, friendly remarks, not a billboard. You're not just blaring out yourself and this is what I know and this is what I think and this is what I want you to know, but you're also asking people questions. You're directing information at them that you think they would find useful as a way to be personal and really connected with them as well. So think billboard, not a cocktail party, and you can also utilize campaign themes to pick out appropriate and shareable material. So I know that social media is new territory to some people, but you really can't go wrong if you pick out things that correspond to make a world of difference. If you find write-ups about things that are going on for National Engineering Month Ontario, check on this hashtag NEM2014 on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. You're going to find lots of great content of your fellow event organizers. We encourage you to contribute to that as well. So again, we have some shareable material that we've prepared for you. If you go to nemontario.ca/graphics, you'll find some stuff that you hopefully like. We've got copies of logos and things there, as well as some National Engineering Month things that you can share out. So we are supporting you. We would love to chat with you on social media, and we hope that it can be a fun and interesting journey for you if it's something that's new to you especially. So I'm going to jump into the logistics content. As I said, there's not a ton of content here, but I just wanted to give you what I've developed during my understanding of my 18-ish months working on National Engineering Month in Ontario. is that it's really a year-round process. We start in August, where we begin to develop targets and begin to approach sponsors for the campaign. That is ultimately what makes all of this outreach that we do possible. So in September and October, we are reaching out to you, the event organizers, to get your event applications together. I know a lot of you in the chapter systems, you have business plans to put together over the summer, so some of the time you've already got that finished. Listen, we'd love to get your event applications earlier. Now that we're looking at it, that would be no problem at all. But in general, we do require that we have those by sort of the October-November timeframe. This past year, I went to all of the regional congresses for PEO. I did my best to reach out as well to OSET chapters through webinars and to Engineers Without Borders and ESCO and Girl Guide groups through other means as well. So we do quite a bit of outreach just trying to get the event organizers, and we're thankful to all of you for answering the call and getting your event applications in. We did have a few latecomers, so this is an exact sort of telling of what happened, but by and large this is the process, and this is how we'd like to continue going forward. We really make it our goal by the first week of December. We've had a chance to compile all of the event applications. We can match it up to the budget that we know we're going to have available. We start to make decisions then about the funding we're going to be able to assess, including innovation funding, and then we send out the notifications in December and the first round of funding checks in January. January and February, again, this is a part of how we're supporting you, the event organizers, and holding some webinars around things that we think we'd like to share with you, and we're also welcoming your feedback and your contribution through newsletters as well. Just to bring you right up to speed, the merchandise was shipped out on February 14th, and I know that a lot of you as we speak are receiving your boxes of NEM goodies because I'm getting the auto notifications from FedEx. So it's great to see that those are arriving safe and sound. If you have questions, obviously, about your order, be sure and let me know. I'll get into merchandise in a little bit more detail in a minute. We did send out a sample copy of the scorecard and the survey, or the link at least to the survey where it's located online. So if you don't have your personalized scorecard yet, we should have those to you by the end of the week or next week at the latest. But as I said, we have sent you a sample, and contained in that are the 3 event checklists. So I encourage you to get started, meet with your team, go through the before lists, and again, let me know what you think. If you're finding them useful, that's great. If you're not finding them so useful, we'd like to know how we can change them to make them better for you. So that pretty much brings us right up to the minute in terms of where we sit, just mid-February here, getting on to end of February. We're getting ready to kick off, frankly, what is going to be the biggest and I hope the best National Engineering Month Ontario ever. We're poised at just over 180 events, which is up from 142-ish that we had last year. So that's a great showing so far from you, the event organizers. Really, again, can't thank you enough for all of the volunteer time and energy that you're putting in. Here's where it gets fun, right? You go out there, you're doing your thing, you get to light up your participants' faces, you get to really make their imaginations come to life with the stories that you tell. And I hope that with all this planning, you still remember to have fun and enjoy yourselves, and remember why it is you sign up for doing outreach, because it is really fun and inspiring. So we've got a few other reminders for you while you're in the thick of the busyness doing your events. Be sure to use the surveys to get immediate feedback from the participants, and then as soon as possible after the meeting, I would say the first post-mortem or sort of event wrap-up meeting that you have with your team, where you're thanking everyone and you're assessing, hey, how did we do? Have that scorecard with you, fill in the details. Take care of the receipts, get it all together, get it compiled, get it sent off to us as soon as you can, because once you do, we can issue you your second round of funding checks. And even more important, we can start to pull together a really rich picture of what it was that we just accomplished. It's hard for us to interview each one of you one at a time to get the full story. We would love to do that. The scorecards are really a great way for you to tell us how you did, and that lets us put together the record of achievement. So this is something that we send out to sponsors, we send out to other coalitions, partner organizations that we hope to work with in future campaigns, and it really is essential get back to these people to let them know what their sponsorship dollars, what their efforts have been, and hopefully you as event organizers are excited to contribute your piece to that report as well. So really encourage you to get your event scorecards filled out and into us in a really timely fashion. And again, just a reminder, there's no post-event report this year. The scorecard is instead. So we're giving you the scorecards well ahead of time and hoping that that's really going to drive some value for you and help you get those in on time. So that's pretty much where we're at. And as you can imagine, after that, we pull together the record of achievement. We get that out to sponsors, and then it's pretty much time to start talking about the next year's campaign. So it's a job that never stops, but it's a labor of love, and we really enjoy it. So that gives you a sense of what goes on at a campaign-wide level, and how much we appreciate where your contribution fits in. So just a note on merchandise, since this is probably a topic that's top of mind. I want to address this and say that we did have a problem, but it was a great problem to have. We had a super high demand for merchandise this year. Not only did we have more events than we expected, everybody really wanted merchandise, and that's wonderful. We did our best to give you the merchandise that we could. A couple of notes is that t-shirts cost $13 each to make, and we get a subsidized, we pass on a subsidy to the chapters that's equivalent to about $10 each. So most of your chapters are paying us $3 a t-shirt. That means we eat $10 of that cost, and we need to be really mindful of that, especially when we're looking in the hundreds of t-shirts. That's a significant investment, and we were not always able to deliver to everyone. So the Rubik's Cubes as well, really glad those were so popular. We had to guess the amount that we were going to need before we got the order from you. So that's why we only had 9,000 to meet a demand that was well over 11,000 in total from what all of you asked for. So again, we're really sorry that we weren't able to give you everything that you asked for in most cases. I want to say two things about that. First of all, merchandise does not make the event, you do. And I know this might be sort of hard to believe because you walk around, in your engineering and technology mindset every day. You might not realize how cool and inspiring it is to a young person or to a university or college student or to a member of the public, just how novel it is, what it is that we do. So remember, use the guidelines, really make them your own. Take from them, use personal stories, have a few examples worked out, have some explanations, and I encourage not just yourself, but your team of volunteers should be ready to really bring that personal angle as well. Bring that engagement, see if you can draw in the participants. That inspiration and that excitement that you create for them is going to last much, much longer than a Rubik's Cube and a t-shirt. I know that merchandise is important, and a lot of you have really come to associate it as being one of the most important parts of the event, but I guess I just want to remind you that there's a lot of value that you bring to by showing up as yourself and by being inspiring. So don't forget to do that, and don't worry too much if you don't have merchandise for everyone. There are creative ways to make the merchandise stretch, using it as prizes, for example, or handing it out to the people who answer questions. And I trust you'll all accept the creativity challenge to tackle how to stretch the material further than you needed to if you didn't get your whole order filled. So that's the first thing I want to say. And the second thing I want to say is that I would love to be able to, at this time next year, be able to let all of you know that you're receiving, everyone's getting 100% of their order. So I'm going to be including a projected order tab on the event scorecard that you'll get, and it'll be what you anticipate or what you hope for the 2015 campaign, and it will not be binding. It will not be a guarantee that you'll get that, but at least if we have some preliminary numbers going into next year's planning early on, then we'll be able to target that, budget for it, plan it, order it from Engineers Canada better than we did this year. So I accept that as our opportunity to improve as well. So I think with that, I've pretty much reached to the end of all of the things that I wanted to let you know. Again, thank you for tuning in on this webinar. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I do want to let you know these are the 3 questions I have for you. What other suggestions do you have to improve? I think we're all about, innovation and learning from our mistakes and continuous improvement. Here at the campaign level, we're no different than that. We might not be able to accommodate all your ideas, but we sure are interested in listening. The other piece is, do you have feedback on the scorecard and the survey? I think you were all digesting everything that I told you about measuring event effectiveness in the last webinar. And I haven't had a ton of feedback on it, to be honest, and I'm curious how it's landing with people. Does it feel like an overwhelming thing? Is it okay? Are you excited? Are you scared of it? So what's the general sense there, and how can we help make that easier? And the third question I have for you are, what are topics you'd like to see in future webinars? If you like this format, we can generally we could maybe run one every other week, or definitely maybe one or two throughout March, touching on bringing together maybe some examples, best practices. Some of the things that the people on the last webinar brought up were that they had some good ideas around local engagement that they wanted to share. One of them being that they had the MPP of the riding that they were holding the event in attend and provide a certificate of participation to each of the children. In this case, it was a youth event. They had the names of the kids ahead of time, and they had them congratulations, potential future engineer, engineering professional, thanks for being a part of National Engineering Month. So that's a pretty, it's not a logistically difficult thing to make happen, but boy, did that ever get a lot of engagement and really, win-win all around from the local politicians as well as from the kids and the parents. You can learn from other event organizers. Again, another example, engaging media, speaking at Rotary clubs, getting on local TV channels to be under the community listings. Someone mentioned Snap Magazine, which I believe is present in at least the GTA, and I know we have it in Waterloo as well. And we talked a little bit about pockets of diversity and some of the specific goals that people had around bringing people together, looking for more Francophone engineers and schools. We talked about having French language material, which I think is a great idea. We have never really looked into that in Ontario before, but to me it's a why not more than anything. Girls and women in engineering was another very popular topic that continues to come up. So these are all potential topics, and would really be interested to hear what your feedback is and what your questions are for me. So with that, I'm going to unmute everyone and invite you to tell me what you think. Okay, everyone, welcome to how to measure your event effectiveness. My name is Erica, and I'm presenting this information on behalf of the National Engineering Month Ontario Steering Committee for the 2014 campaign. I've got quite a bit of content, so I'm just going to jump into it. First of all, I'm going to take you through a sort of a general question on why it's worth it to measure. Why do we have these new tools that we're introducing for you, the event scorecard and the survey? I'm going to show you what they are, and then I'm going to take you through them in a lot of detail. So you see here the Olympics are on now. You might have seen people holding up scores like this. We think that's important, but not necessarily in the way you think. So first of all, why should we measure? The best reason I can think of is that we really want to improve year after year. We want to make sure we're not just showing up to do National Engineering Month because it's part of the tradition of something that's ingrained in our heads and in our calendar. We actually want to see that we're doing a good job of doing engineering outreach, or even a great job, maybe even the best engineering outreach in Canada. That's kind of our goal. So if you think about it in business terms, you might think about it around maximizing a return on investment, because we're all investing in this outreach campaign. We're investing our time, we're investing our effort, we're investing our energy, we're investing a not insignificant amount of money, which we're collecting from our sponsor organizations and from our chapters. So we want to make sure that we are investing this time and money wisely, and that we're getting something out of it as far as a return. So are we achieving our goal of changing the public perception of engineering and technology, and of inspiring the next generation of professionals to come into our line of work that we enjoy so much? We don't know that unless we measure. And again, my sort of final, my closing remark on this question is that this is what we do. We think of ourselves as professionals. We're critical thinkers. We're analytically minded people. I'm sure in your job you wouldn't necessarily make a decision based on a hunch. So why would we want to do it just based on a feel when it comes to outreach? So we want to make sure that we have data to speak with. We came up with this idea for an event scorecard based on this idea around what happens when you play golf. You basically record your score, how you're doing against the target against a standard. It allows you to track your performance. Let's say you play the same course more than once. You can look at how you're improving. It also drives, in the case of outreach, it drives accountability. Are we getting the results out that we wanted to? It also creates a structure for planning and coordination. And it allows for some comparison with others. If so, you've got a buddy who's golfing with you, you have some healthy competition going on there, challenging each other to do things better every time. It also smooths out the reporting process, and I'll talk about that in a little more detail in a second. And ultimately, once we collect all of these individual scorecards, we're going to compile them up into a province-wide scoreboard, which lets us tell the story about the campaign as a whole and how it works. So when we collect detailed data at the event level, it allows us to get a really clear picture of what's going on across the province. So these are all the reasons that we're introducing an event scorecard for this year's campaign. So another reason is that last year we did a post-event survey, and that was necessary. We needed to get the information about what happened in your events during the campaign, but you really didn't like the post-event survey for the most part. We heard you on that. The post-event report, it had too many questions, it took up too much of your time, and you didn't really see the point of doing it. It didn't feel valuable to you. So this year it's a scorecard, and I hope that I can convince you that we were listening. We created something that was streamlined. It's now also a planning tool for you, so it does deliver additional value. It also gives you some data that you weren't getting before. You may not have been able to understand the messages that you were giving out and some other important event success criteria. So it also has the additional benefit of focusing you on the question, what does event success really mean to you? And we encourage you to ask that, not just to sort of go through your National Engineering Month event as a matter of something that needs to be done by rote, but really asking, are we doing a good job? How do we know? So historically, we gather data on budget and attendance. Did we deliver it on time, on budget? Did we get the amount of participation that we expected? Those are good things to know if we got the turnout and if we delivered on budget, but it's really not enough to tell us about whether we're doing a good job of moving the needle on the issues we really care about. If we were to end up saying, okay, well, what are we trying to do? We're trying to inspire the next generation of engineering and technology professionals. They're probably 8 years old right now. They're 7, 8, 9 years old, and it might take 10 years or more to collect that data to know whether the kids or the general public population that sit in your workshop go and sign up for an engineering and technology program. It could take a really long time to figure that out. We don't really have that kind of time. One thing that we do have available to us potentially is you could ask your volunteers and say, how did it feel? And get their sort of anecdotal evidence from the organizers. Did it feel like it went well? But again, that's good, but that's not really enough to tell us whether the event had the impact and was successful in that larger sense. So we know that raising awareness of engineering and technology, that's good to do no matter what. And as you might know, it has a lot of immediate benefits to your chapter. It's really fun when you first bring someone into your organization. Give them some outreach to do. Give them something fun to do. It's immediate. It really makes them feel good. They get a sense of accomplishment. They get a burst of energy. Hopefully from the experience, it's a positive thing for them. I know that's how I got into working with Engineers Without Borders. Is the first thing I did was I ran a Water for the World workshop, and that turned out to be the gateway to lots of other types of involvement within that organization. It's great for relationship building when you're doing these workshops. You're building relationships within your community, possibly with school boards, possibly with other professional organizations, possibly with the university if you're not at a university, possibly with the professional chapters. There are all kinds of opportunities to partner together to deliver outreach, and so you're building those relationships, which will carry over to other things that you do during the year as well. Also, there's this aspect of community building. So I'm not sure if you knew this, but there are going to be over 180 events run across the province of Ontario during March for National Engineering Month in 2014. And that's amazing. That's at least 180 volunteers. You know, there's probably a team of 5 to 10 people that run each one of those. That's, you know, thousands of people that are all focused on doing a great outreach event. So we can connect you with them. we can get you talking about what worked for you, what didn't work for you, and maybe while you're at it, you can share some other stories and challenges that will benefit and make some new friends that way. So there are lots of benefits of doing this outreach as we know it. But ultimately, if we want to understand the external impact that we're having on the general public, on the youth population, we need to understand the messages that they're taking away from our organization, from our events. What is the light bulb that's switching on that was off before? And we might really have a hard time zoning in on this because this is the air we breathe. This is the space that we move in, and we're so accustomed to these things about engineering and technology that other people are not. So hopefully you recognize these. These are messaging guidelines that come from some pretty significant research that was done around the best ways to talk to youth and the general public about engineering and technology. And they are, and hopefully you recognize them already, but I'm just going to run through them quickly. We're saying there is a diverse set of challenges in the 21st century just due to the global effects of technology and global markets, unprecedented change, and in different types of collective knowledge, interconnectedness with the internet. There are all kinds of things going on out there that never were going on before. And in order to solve, most of the easy problems have been solved already. To solve the complex and challenging problems that exist out there, we really need a diversity of thinkers to break them down. And that's where we bring this inclusiveness message big time. We want to say to, this one's especially important to youth, there is a place for you in engineering technology, whether you're the type of person who wants to change the world, whether you're the type of person who wants to create the next Facebook, or you're the type of person who wants to optimize things, you're the person who wants to clean up the environment. There are ways that you can pursue all of these different goals, and we're inclusive and we're welcoming to different talents, different types of diversity of populations and talents. So engineering and technology shapes the world around us, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's always a fun conversation. I know I find it fun to look back and consider, well, what was going on, 30, 40, 50 years ago? What did cars look like? What did the state of our water systems look like? What was going on in architecture at that time? What was computing technology looking like? What was biomedical doing? All of these things have evolved tremendously into today, and what's possible for tomorrow in terms of space travel or any of the areas I just mentioned. What's next? Those are really interesting and fun conversations to have, whether you're having those with a youth audience or with a people in the general public or in our engineering and technology community. Engineering and technology apply creativity and imagination to turn ideas into reality. Everything that is human-made that exists now once was just an idea. And how cool is it to think of the way that our profession plays such an important role in bringing those things from ideas into reality, and what could that mean about the future that we can create for ourselves. So that's a really cool one to bring out. And lastly, but not least, health, safety, and happiness. So what are the ways that engineering and technology protect and create the world around us in order that everyone's healthy and happy and safe? And I know that those of us who have graduated already or have dreams of graduating one day with the Iron Ring or with the technology ring really take our duty seriously in that sense. So engineering and technologists make a world of difference. As you might know, that's the theme this year of the overall campaign. I'm going to get into a few details now of how to use these messaging guidelines. So now that you know what they are, and by the way, this is all available on the website at nemontario.ca. You need to go to Get Involved, and then you'll see the links to the messaging guidelines. Same place you downloaded the funding application, if you remember that. You can embed them into the explanations that you have when you're introducing an activity, when you're talking about yourself. It's always good to give that personal story, that personal touch. People really connect to that. You can give examples of what's going on in the world around you, maybe some technology or something that just happened in the news that people can relate to as well. Maybe give an example about the Olympics. Who knows? That could be a good topic for 2014 because everyone's paying attention to what's going on in sports. They have helmets that now have sensors built in. that can detect if someone's had some kind of head injury, so they know when it's time to pull them off the ice, for example, if they've had a tough body check during a hockey game. So there are lots of different ways to relate examples, that would be health, safety, and happiness, obviously, to things that are going on in the world that people can really relate to and go, oh yeah, cool. Again, your main event activity, you want to make sure that as wherever you can, you're emphasizing one of those main messaging guidelines in that activity, and you can even put them in if you have additional event materials, if you have an event website or anything that's printed or a poster. Make sure that you're using those messaging guidelines. Make them your own. A good tip that I heard one of my committee members say earlier this year was, if you're putting on an event for kids, think like a kid. Try and remember what you thought when you were that age, or even better, if you have some family members or some friends that are that age or have kids that age, try and talk to them and see what they think, what explanations work on them. Try and get a clear idea of what their mindset is and help clear up any misconceptions or stereotypes or lack of knowledge that they might have. So think about that a little bit. A little bit of preparation ahead of time can really make sure that when you're at your event, you're not sort of stammering and wondering what to say, but you've got just a couple of talking points that you can cover, you can give to your fellow volunteers, and they can relay the message as well. So it comes across nice and strong during the event, and people are going to pick up on that. So we've also added our own, a couple of what we're calling key themes in our concept cloud here. We thought that, creativity was a great thread to pick up on, and anywhere you see, engineering, technology, and creativity together, share that, mention that, talk about that. There's an organization called Beakerhead based in Calgary. Go Google them when you're finished the webinar, and just see what they're doing with large-scale engineering art installations. Absolutely phenomenal, so cool, and a really cool idea, cool example of, yeah, this is what engineering and technology do. They build gigantic 9-foot robotic spiders. They make movies happen. IMAX is one of our sponsors, so great examples there. Anything to do with sustainability, protecting the future, society and development, diversity. I'll get into a little bit more detail on that. Again, with that inclusiveness message and the fact that we need people from all different types of backgrounds to make the best solutions possible. Anything to do with water, or come to think of it, air. I mean, anything that protects that safety and that quality of life that we enjoy. Again, physical safety, I know, is one we're all really concerned with and keyed into. Anything with global scope, innovation, and teamwork. So these are just some of the key themes that we suggest you can pick up on, things you can talk about and emphasize, and I encourage you to sit with your team and think of some other things, maybe some other themes that really represent what engineering means to you, or what your technology career has taught you about what's important, and run with those, because when you speak from a place of passion and speak from a place of meaning, people will pick up on that and they'll remember that and they'll find that really, really interesting and exciting and attractive to talk to. That's what's going to make your event really, really great. So a little more messaging help. As I mentioned, the theme of this year's campaign is called Make a World of Difference. So how cool is that? Last year it was Design the Future, which was kind of cool, but to me it had maybe a little bit of a robotic or sort of mechanistic feel to it. Make a World of Difference has a little bit more of a human touch to it. Again, this is just my personal opinion. I think that the new theme is really great. Examples, you can pick up on that by talking about examples of things that engineering and technology touch in the everyday lives of Ontarians. So I know a volunteer at a chapter that I worked with, he works in the municipality in water, and so he was able to say to the kids at an event that I attended with him, did you turn on the water today? They were like, yes. Well, that was because of an engineer, and I was able to say to him, because he was a little too modest, I said, he did that. He designed the water system and he helps keep it running. Imagine if you had no water. How crazy would that be? It's really hard to imagine life without the things that we enjoy because of engineering and technology. So I'm sure you're all very good at this, just giving some ideas here on how you can pull together examples that relate to everyday life that also connect to what you're studying or what you do in your job. Anything related to helping protect and take care of people. You can also look at highlighting some more specific themes. global scope, public health and safety, infrastructure, space travel even. There's a bit of a play on words with being out of this world, a world of difference, a different world. You can really sort of play on any of those themes in order to emphasize. And also, I'll do another little plug here. If you go to nemontario.ca/stories, we have a little question there, a little prompt, how will you make a world of difference? And we recently interviewed a whole bunch of engineering students and professionals at a conference that we were at for Engineers Without Borders, and we got their answers about this. And there were some really great answers there. I encourage you to check that out, and there's actually a section in the comment box where you can leave your own answer as well. So we'd love to have that conversation with you around making a world of difference. So onward. Now that we understand, we want to give across good messages. We understand what those messages are, and I've given you a few ideas on how you can put those messages across. Now comes the moment of truth. Did it work? Did the message get across? So we're introducing to you the event survey. This is to help you answer the question about whether your messaging worked or not. So we were fortunate enough to work with some engineering education researchers at Queen's. It's designed to be filled out by the participants. Again, this is not for you, the event organizer, but it's for them. It's very, very easy. It's one page front and back, and you'll be able to administer it at the event after the main activity. And with very few exceptions, those surveys will be yours to keep. You will have them just to look at for your own learning and your own frame of reference. The exception is for the event organizers that received innovation funding, we're going to be asking you for a sample of your surveys to be sent back to us. So what does it look like? Ta-da, here we go. It's very simple, as I said, one page front and back. We will be giving it to you electronically. You'll need to make arrangements to print it out and have it available for your participants to fill out. So you'll need, obviously, some writing implements if they won't have it. And you need to leave maybe 5 to 10 minutes at the end of your activity for them to do that. So distribute it at the event, give them time to fill it out, and then collect it. And you'll see the types of things that you can learn from the event organizers. So some of last year's responses were really interesting. I think you can get an idea of how much fun it is when you have some surveys. You can collect them. In this case, this is from when we did pilot the survey last year with a small group of Engineers Without Borders events. In this case, a girl, she said that 3 words that described engineering were creating and building, thinking, and working together. Sorry, guys. So you can see here the third thing that she said, working together. You can see the teamwork thing got through. It came through loud and clear on the messaging, so that's great. So another thing that you can learn from reading the messaging, the filled out surveys, is whether the participants were engaged. Did they enjoy it? I had fun, so there's a positive data point right there. Did the participants enjoy themselves? So yes, I enjoyed the activity. This is great. What message were you delivering? So do you think engineering has an effect on our safety? That's obviously testing out messaging guideline number 4 of health, safety, and happiness. So a well-engineered product is dependent for our safety, just like that bridge. And if the engineers don't make something correctly, it could be the difference between life or death. So that was quite a dramatic response from this particular individual that yes, engineering does have an effect on our safety. So that would be another positive data point. Something interesting that sometimes happens is that you'll get some unintended messaging. In this case, they said maybe. So they're saying that engineering might not affect safety because it seems like we're really focusing more on hunger issues. Now, when I think back to that workshop, it was about Engineers Without Borders and how they're working on poverty. So they maybe got a little bit confused between what engineers do and what Engineers Without Borders do. So that's an interesting example of some unintended messaging that we found. But overall, are we educating the public about engineering and technology? Here's another nice general question. What did you learn today that you didn't know before? And this participant said that engineering helps in harvesting food, getting water, and many other things you didn't expect it helps with. So there's another positive data point there. So that's the survey. And that's one of the things that you'll need in order to fill out the scorecard. And the scorecard has 2 main parts. It has 3 checklists, which I'll show you, and then it has 3 sections and a points system. So the basic elements, there are 5 of them all together, worth a total of 70 points. So the advanced elements are worth a total of 40 points, and then the bonus points are worth a total of 15. So these are for you, the event organizers, to use the checklists and to score your own events. This is not something that we're going to be doing for you. It's not something that will be sort of appraised from the outside. We think that you are the best people to assess how you did in your planning and your actual execution. And we want to make sure that whenever possible, you're being as honest with yourself as possible, and you're setting yourself up to improve for next time. So part 1, the event checklists. Here we go. You can see these 3 different columns representing 3 different meetings. The idea is that you'll use this as a skeleton of an agenda. Before the event, you'll have this meeting with your team in February. Review these questions, and you'll see we've organized them into basics, few other logistics, advanced, and bonus. So one thing I want to point out, if you're new to organizing these events or you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, we absolutely give you permission to just focus on the basics. You might want to leave the advanced stuff until later. We've organized it like that for you on purpose, so that if you need to know, what's the minimum I need to do just to get through this because it's feeling like quite a lot, the answer is do the basics. Just do the basics and then leave it at that. So here's your here are your questions, your prompts to ask at the before event meeting. You can see by far there's more to do before the event. During the event, that's on the day, check in with your team and you can discuss a lot of these specifics that are just the last thing you're doing before you kick into gear at the event. And then after. This could be the day after the event, or it could be at the end of the day. It's probably going to be the next time you have a meeting, and you can review your scorecard and pull it all together. So encourage you to get that done as soon as possible. As you know, if you've organized an event before, it's often a little easy to forget or let things fall off the table, and we sure do appreciate getting those scorecards back in so we can send you your checks and pull together our reporting. So those are the event checklists, and we hope that they're really useful for you. I encourage you to get back to me with any feedback, or if there were additional questions that you used or questions you think don't need to be included. Would really like to hear about that. Here's part 2, the scored elements, and this is kind of the heart of the scorecard. As I said, we've got our basics, advanced, and bonus section. So you can score pretty well depending on how you do. And you can see that in general, for the basics, we've got before, after, or plan and actual, and then there's a score. For the others, you've just got the actual and the score. So that's a little bit easier to remember. So this looks like a lot. Don't worry too much. Something to note about the scorecard is that we have set it up such that all you have to do is fill in the green stuff. So you can see here the entered value, that's for you to fill in. The pre-populated value is the light blue. We will have that filled in and we'll send that to you because you already filled that in on your funding application. And the dark blue is a calculated value. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to go through each of the elements now: messaging, attendance, budget, media, and improvement. So the first element of the basics, messaging alignment. Now, it's no coincidence that I just spent several moments talking in pretty good detail about the messaging guidelines, and now we're measuring you on messaging alignment, and it's worth 20 points. It's worth more than any other element on the scorecard. That's us telling you this is important. We would like you to spend some time thinking about this. Did the participants understand the message? Were there any unintended messages? What came through? Because again, we're so used to this stuff, we might not be aware of how we're articulating it or how it's coming across or not. So there are sort of 3 phases to this. Before, you want to identify which messages you plan to deliver. During, you're going to deliver them, and I mentioned a few different ways that you can do that. You're going to administer the survey, which is going to tell you on the spot what kind of messages the participants took away, and then afterward you're going to have a look at your survey data. So we say analyze, but really you're just going to read the surveys and determine whether from what you read that they got the message or not, and then you're going to record a score based on the alignment between what you meant to deliver and then what was actually received. So hopefully that makes sense. And again, as I said, you've already identified which messages you plan to deliver ahead of time. In this case, this is from the funding application. this event organizer said that they wanted to focus on the diversity of thinkers and 21st century challenges and the inclusiveness message. There is a place for you. The second messaging guideline that they targeted was creativity and imagination to turn ideas into reality. So great. Hopefully that team will sit together before the event. They will talk about, okay, how can we make sure that our participants really get these? What examples can we give? What explanations can we give? What do we need to weave into our activity to make sure that that comes through loud and clear? Then go ahead, have the activity, put on your event, administer the survey afterwards, and you're going to get words like this. And hopefully, if you were trying to say that engineering is about creativity and turning ideas into reality, and they use the word creative, ding, ding, well done. That means that the message got through. So I think you see where we're going with that. You get the plan from the funding application that'll already be filled out on the scorecard, and then you get the actual from the surveys. And here you go again. Here's another one. Engineers solve problems. If there's a problem that concerns our safety, they will solve it. And they've circled yes here. So that's great as far as the health, safety, and happiness guideline. So here's a rubric or a guideline on how we'd like you to score yourself. If they got all the intended messaging, 20 points. Great job. If you got some, give yourself 5 points every time you see a positive data point show up. If you didn't get any messages, and we feel that's pretty unlikely if you take the time to do this, it would be 0. If you got some positive unintended messaging, let's say you were going for creativity and you ended up getting health and safety back, give yourself 2 points for each thing that you didn't mean to say that's positive, or -4 points if there's some unintended messaging. So hopefully that's pretty straightforward. As I said, messaging, very important. The next basic element is the number of attendees. So we do want everyone to be targeting big events that are gonna reach a large audience, that you're gonna have lots of people impacted, because in-person events are one of the most exciting ways to engage with the public and the youth. However, we do want to encourage you to look at setting a goal, promote your event toward the goal, and then look at how accurate you are in meeting that goal. So during the event, obviously you're going to count or estimate the number of attendees if you can't count directly, and then record actual versus plan. So the highest score comes from accuracy of planning. And here's why. You might say to me, but wouldn't it be great if we thought we were going to get 30 participants and we ended up with 120? Wouldn't that be excellent? And the answer is yes, it's great, but you might find that with more people, the quality of the engagement and the quality of the messaging may decrease. If you can find a way to accommodate 120 people instead of 30, then good job. But you might run out of prizes, you might run out of merchandise, you might run out of time for your volunteers to work with your participants. So whenever possible, we want you to have plan and actual be as close to each other as possible. So here's the rubric or the guideline for scoring yourself on attendance. If you're plus or minus 10% from your target, that's 15 points, full marks. Plus or minus 25%, 12 points, and so on down. Next basic element is budgeting. That's worth 15 points. Again, pretty straightforward. You've already created your budget and you're preparing for your event. During the event, you're going to be racking up your receipts and compiling your expenses. Afterward, you're going to get all that. You're going to get it all together, total up the actual versus plan. And here's how we'd like you to score. If you're on budget or under, assuming that you delivered your full plan, if you found a way to do it under budget, power to you. If you found a way to do more than what you planned for the same budget, that's great. We definitely want to celebrate you, so be sure to note that in the notes section. If you're over budget by 10%, just to note, we will not be providing excess funding. You'll be required to cover that yourselves if it's a NEM-funded event. But you can still give yourself almost full marks, 12 points in terms of the budget. And if you're over budget by more than 25%, that's still worth 8 points, and so on down to 0. So hopefully that makes sense. The next basic element we want to encourage you to think about is media. So again, with the same idea that I mentioned around social media, this is a way to tell the story of the event and to spread your message and the impact beyond the people that are inside the four walls of the event itself. So beforehand, you want to promote your event through local media or online media outlets. We do have a lot of online blogs and maybe web magazines that would be interested in promoting your event. You can invite them to your event. We do recommend that you designate a media coordinator on your team, someone who is solely responsible for inviting these people, identifying who should be there, introducing them to the right people, making sure that they get the photos that they need and things. Someone, if they don't have a reporter coming or a photographer coming, they should be taking photos and videos themselves. They could be providing interviews to local media or doing any other sort of coordination during the event. And then after, you need someone to create and post an event write-up. And that could go on your chapter website or on your organization's website. Send us the link, post that out through social media. We'll make sure that it goes up. We're going to have a Dropbox set up for National Engineering Month Ontario. Send us your event pictures and videos that way if you don't have the opportunity to put them up on a website or social media. The last thing we want is that we have tons of great content that ends up stuck on someone's hard drive or stuck on someone's video camera or phone. We want to make sure that those get shared out so that we can see what's going on. And just a note on video and photo release, we do have a release form that we've loaded up onto the website. If you go to nemontario.ca/engineering outreach resources, so there's a dash in between the engineering and the outreach and the resources, you'll see it there. You can download that and use it for your event participants. Here's a great example of media coverage just a couple weeks ago for our engineering.com, which is quite a major engineering blog. We had a write-up about the Girl Guide event that's going on in a couple of weeks. So we're very proud of Rosemary Almond, who's one of you. She's an event organizer who put out the word to Sean Wasserman, and he wrote it up. So good for him. Good for Sean and good for Rose for reaching out to him. This is a great example of some pre-event media coverage. So here's how we'd like you to score yourselves on media. If you invited the local media, good for you, 2 points. If they actually showed up, another 2 points. If you designated a media coordinator, another 2 points. If you gave us some videos or photos to the NEM Dropbox, we can always use those, so give you 2 points for that. And if you created and posted a write-up on the chapter website, another 2 points. Okay? So this last basic element really only applies if you've been running events for at least 1 year. This is based on the question number 16 on your funding application, if you've hosted this event before. And if you have, we asked you to identify what are your goals for improvement. So this is where those goals come to play. In this case, this event organizer wanted to have a larger audience, and they wanted to improve the attendee experience. So larger audience is A and C. So this one's pretty straightforward. You can give yourself 2 points for every improvement goal you identified and or achieved over the last year. So now we'll get into the advanced elements, and again, I'll say to anyone who's new out there who's finding this all to be a bit much, this is where you can you can safely sign off if this is something that you don't want to if you don't want to pursue. But if you're ready to take your event from good to great, take it to the next level, then the advanced elements are where we're encouraging you to go next. So social media is worth 10 points. We've also got collaboration, participant engagement, and promotion of diversity. So I'll take you through those. Social media, we already did do a whole webinar on social media. I encourage you to check it out if you didn't have a chance to yet, or if you didn't get to attend it live. You're going to need to set up your social media platforms ahead of time, and we definitely encourage you to engage with us. We're at NEM Ontario on Facebook and on Twitter, as well as on Instagram. So have a look at what we're doing. You know, aim content at us, chat to us, tweet to us, like us, share the content, and we will share back. I promise to be good social media buddies. You're going to want to capture as much media content as you can, post it if you can, or if you can't, upload it to the Dropbox afterwards. Share your success stories and your photos. Engage with other event organizers. Again, it's that community building and really amplifying what's going on in your event beyond the four walls of your actual event room. So this is, again, pretty straightforward. Look at the total number of posts from your event or leading up to your event that included the NEM 2014 hashtag. So here's Conestoga NSOC, good for them. They shared a couple of things. Every time that you do that, give yourself 2 points up to a maximum of 10. So there's always some good stuff on there, so I encourage you to have a look. In this case, again, a couple weeks ago, one of our sponsors, Ryerson, they were talking about how some of the NFL players and cheerleaders are also engineers. So that was kind of a fun little Super Bowl fact there. So it's pretty nice, lighthearted stuff, definitely shareable and fun to look at. So our next advanced element is collaboration. And this is where the beforehand we'll ask you to team up with other organizations in your community that are interested in the same thing that you are. So you might find if you're a PEO or an OSET or an Engineers Without Borders chapter, you spend a lot of time thinking about what your goals are. It's a really good exercise to look at who else is out there. What are their goals, and where do their goals potentially align with your goals? Maybe not everywhere, but certainly in the area of inspiring the next generation of engineering and technology professionals. There are a lot of people who want to do that, and they're trying lots of different things, and in my experience, not many of them are effectively talking to each other and collaborating. So we're trying to change that. We really want to break down the silos. Here's just a small list of organizations that you can reach out to. Women in Engineering and Science, or WISE. Women in Technology is another one, WIT. PEO, OSET, IEEE, NSOC, ACTUA, which is the Engineering Science and Engineering and Science camps that are present at many of the universities across Canada. Science Expo, which is a network of outreach volunteers that's present across Canada as well. Girl Guides, Boy Scouts, school boards. We can really think outside the box, think of who's out there trying to promote the values and the changes that you want to see, and see who you can team up with, and give yourself up to 2 points each for a maximum of 10 for all of the different organizations that you're able to connect with. So again, here's an example. Rosemarie Almond, she's doing lots of great stuff this year. She was tweeting to the national, she was tweeting on the National Engineering Month hashtag that she needs more volunteers for her event, also connecting with U of T Engineering. So great use of social media there and collaboration. So again, every time you're able to bring together some external organization to help collaborate with you in your event, either through helping co-deliver it, helping promote it, maybe they supply you some volunteers or some speakers or some merchandise or whatever you can think of, we really encourage you to start reaching out and developing those relationships and those collaborations, because those are going to really help you bring your event to the next level. Okay, so that's collaboration. Next, we're going to go to participant engagement. Now, this is that sort of buzz factor that tells you that your event is good, that you're really cooking. And it's a little bit hard to plan for because it's a bit of an intangible, can sometimes be an unpredictable thing, but there are some things that you can do to plan for good engagement. One is to have some age-appropriate explanations ready. So I mentioned earlier on that you want to really get inside the mindset of your audience. If you know you're going to be talking to grade 7 and grade 8 guys and girls, maybe start thinking about what they're thinking about. What games are they playing? What's important to them at this point? What are some things that are maybe going on in their life that, it's March. Are they excited about March break? Are they going on vacation? Are they, they going with their friends? Are they whatever? Just to have their context in mind is really going to help you plan some age-appropriate explanations and examples. Another thing that you can do that is not mandatory necessarily, but we're recommending it as a little bonus thing you can do if you want to, is to plan some additional mini games or challenges if your activity is one that has some downtime. So I know many of our chapters do bridge building or bridge busting competitions, and it means that there are teams sort of waiting around with their bridges as they wait for the others to be tested. So this is a great opportunity to give them something to do. If they're older children especially, or if they're members of the public and they likely have smartphones, give them something to do maybe on a social media, or give them a website that they can go to, something, maybe engage them, give them a little game that they can play, or ask them to come up with some questions and answers. Anything you can do to sort of engage them and keep them switched on. Take advantage of that opportunity. Another thing that you could do, that you can continue to stay engaged with them after the event, is to collect their emails or their social media handles. Follow up with them and ask them to come volunteer with you. Contact them maybe if you have another ask to make. Maybe you want to get something together for a summer activity or an end of the year or something, or you want to do some outreach outside of National Engineering Month. These are all possibilities, and we're not talking about infringing on people's privacy here. These are people that you might legitimately want to stay in touch with in terms of building relationships. So that engagement does not need to stop after your event is done. So here are a few more examples on participant engagement, things that we know work. Having a really small volunteer to participant ratio, meaning lots of volunteers, that they'll be available to chat with your participants, to give them those stories and bring them into their world a little bit better. That's a great way to go. Again, I mentioned the age-appropriate language and examples. You really want to make sure that you're understanding what they need and what they'll be able to relate to. Something about having something people can put their hands on is really effective. I've seen this firsthand as well. I've seen one particular area or booth with a bunch of pamphlets, things for people to pick up and read, and I've seen another one with something where they can pick up and play, and there's just no contest in how long those people stick around and how engaged they get. The ones with the toys or the things to play with, they win every time, even if it's not a really complicated thing. You want to engage as many types of learners as you can. It's a little bit of educational psychology here. Make sure you've got some visuals, some oral, that's explanations, maybe some music or other things that people can play with or touch or taste if that's appropriate. Those are all ways that you can engage people and make sure that they're really switched on at your event. And again, depending on who your audience is, you might look at participant discussion. If this is a group of older students or members of the general public, give them something to talk about. There's a model called Think, Pair, Share. So have them think about a question, get together to chat about it, and then report back to the group. Depending on what your event is, that could be a really great way to bring people together and get them talking. You want to really show that you're interested in what they have to say as well. So finally, you're trying to measure the buzz or excitement in the room. That's pretty tough to do, but here's the workaround that we've got for you to put a number to this element. We'd like you to enter the number of activities, games, interactive features, and that could include your main activity that you had to engage with participants. And then give yourself a score on how well they worked. So this is worth 5 points. It's not a super heavy event because we know it's not a heavy element, sorry. We know it's a tough thing to really gauge or to know for sure. 0 is that the participants were not engaged, didn't really work. You can be honest with yourself on that. There's nothing wrong with learning from failure. But if you think that they really did work and the participants were engaged, give yourself a 5 and share with us what you did, because we'd love to share that out across the broader community. We're getting near the end here. The advanced elements, promotion of diversity. Now this is a tricky one, and we could probably do a whole webinar on diversity and why it's important and what it means. But really, you can't go wrong if you come back to saying there is a place for you. We really want to drive home that message of inclusiveness. And you maybe want to have some examples prepared, maybe something that happened in a project at work where a bunch of people were working on a problem from one particular angle, and it took someone else coming in from a different perspective to really crack it open and push through the problem. If you have an example like that, that's wonderful. As well, when you can, recruit your volunteers and your speakers that are going to be at your event to be a role model to a broad spectrum. So this could mean including women or people of a visible minority, people that come from different types of engineering potentially or different types of technology, come from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, whatever you can to include different elements of my little diversity jigsaw puzzle here. So the idea is that all of these different types of thinking styles, perspectives, job level, gender, etc., they all fit together to form a really rich, innovation-ready profession. And one way that you can promote this, and it's not always easy to do, but if you can make sure that you at least give a thought to sending a message to the boys and the girls that they're both important, both their contributions are welcome, that's great. If you can use inclusive language, for example, don't refer to engineers as he all the time or him. I know it might seem like a small thing to you, especially if you work with a lot of engineers who are men. You might be saying, what's wrong with that? It's because it sends a signal. It's because you want to make sure that there's no mistaking for the girls in the room or the young women in the room who may be considering this as a career path. You want to make sure that they feel welcome, that they really get the message there is a place for you. So anything you can do to promote that, even small things like language, do add up. They are important. So thank you for taking the time to do that. As far as checking to see how effective you were, really the one thing that you've got in your pocket is that when the participants fill out their surveys, remember those messaging surveys, you will have data as to whether they're a male or female participant filling out the survey. So you can check to see if the male and the female participants both got the message equally. And that's what we've got for promotion of diversity. So here's how we'd like you to score. How many times did your event mention diversity, use inclusive language, or communicate the importance of diversity, either directly or through sort of built-in examples or explanations? And then check the surveys. Did the boys and girls receive the message equally? And it's not going to be an exact science, but we'd like to give yourself 1 point for each of these positive data points up to a maximum of 5. So that's diversity. That's the end of the advanced elements. However, we did want to throw a few more things in that you can do if you want to just take your event right over the top. We have this newsletter that we're pretty proud of and excited about. It involves reaching out to you, the event participants, collecting your stories. We do give you a little bit of logistical information, but by and large, our goal here is just to spread best practices, to give as much information and inspiration as we can to you as you endeavor to get better and better in your outreach efforts. So if you or one of the people on your team is subscribed to the newsletter, easy 5 points. The quote participants, oh yes, if you're quoting participants and tweeting or Facebook messaging about them, one thing I'd really love to see is sharing things that the people are saying that are really interesting. For example, I was at a National Engineering Month event during 2013. And one of the girls, she was a grade 7 girl, said, "I want to be a house engineer." And I just thought it was so cool the way she said it. Kids really just have a way of putting things sometimes that's really refreshing and exciting. And so I tweeted that, overheard at NEM 2013. So I'd love to see overheard at NEM 2014. What are those things that people are saying that are just that are really exciting and interesting? And it obviously it's nothing that you want to do to embarrass anyone. It's always meant in good fun, and it's meant to capture those moments of sort of aha, like, isn't it great that we saw that person's excitement and their inspiration, and spread the joy. Frankly, you want to tell that happy story to the people who didn't have the privilege of being in the room when it happened. The last bonus element that we want to provide for you, this option of promoting the National Engineering Month campaign as a whole. So the goal there is, are you sending people to the National Engineering Month website? We'd love to see more hits on our website this year. Were you raising the awareness of, did you know March is National Engineering Month? That's kind of a fun question I find amongst people who are not in the engineering and technology community. They often don't know, but this is a great opportunity for you to tell them. So you can get yourself some easy points there by promoting the National Engineering Month campaign. So again, here are the 3 bonus things. Subscribe to our newsletter, quote interesting things that your participants said, and promote National Engineering Month as a whole. 5 points each for doing any of those. So with that, I'm going to wrap up this content. Thank you so much for your patience, for sticking with me throughout this whole presentation. I'm going to open it up to quotes to questions now. Just wanted to let you know that you're going to be receiving the personalized version of your scorecard with detailed instructions in February. Everyone at this point, as you're watching this, you should have already received the sample copy, so you can pull off the event checklists and start to have those prep meetings, start to get going. You can play with the scorecard, look at it. Let me know if you have any questions, any difficulties. I'm more than happy to hear what you think, good, bad, indifferent, any of that. And please don't forget to reach out to us on social media. These are the hashtags. This is where we can be found. Here is my email address. And thank you so much for listening and for your efforts to make National Engineering Month bigger and better than ever this year.